Well, seems like my other projects will take a bit longer than I expected, but I thought of something special to keep you guys entertained. Today we are going to tackle the first MLP Movie prequel comic, which introduces the big bad of the upcoming film, the Storm King. Truth be told, not much is actually happening story-wise. The Storm King conquers the land of Abyssinia, gets himself a magical artifact, leaves, and gets betrayed by a second in command. That's pretty much the whole issue in a nutshell. But this doesn't mean that there's nothing to talk about, because we learn a lot of new things. For starters, we finally see a bit more of the world of MLP. The first panel shows us a map of the lands beyond Equestria, though we can't see Equestria on that map. At first I thought it would show the Griffin Kingdom, which would give us a good idea where we are, but once you take a closer look, you realize that the map most likely says Land of the Hippogriffs. You heard that right, it's Silver Quill country. Sadly we don't get to see it yet, but we get to see the next best thing. Because this issue deals with the conquest of Abyssinia, and while this sounds rather sinister, it has nothing to do with the abyss, because Abyssinia is populated by anthropomorphic cats, making it a reference to the Abyssinian cat. Interestingly enough, Abyssinia is actually an old name for Ethiopia, or more specifically, the Ethiopian Empire. To my disappointment though, there seemingly aren't much more references to African culture, as the architecture doesn't resemble an African civilization but instead cat toys. Though the king and his wife are portrayed as black cats, dare I say, black panthers, and even the capital is called Panthera, and chances are that you associate panthers with Africa, or maybe Marvel, but then again, Wakanda is somewhere in Africa.
Wait a minute.
Catrina, what are you doing here?
There is a whole country of anthropomorphic cats?
Yes?
And you turned me, the original MLP cat lady, into a monstrous sphinx? Well, seems like I'm going to have fox for dinner.
Wait, that was Grey's idea.
Oh, really? Where can I find this Grey?
He should be bartending at the Secret Rift today. Please don't eat me.
Okay, I'll talk with this Grey. Next time, though, you won't get away that easy.
Jeez. But now that I think about it, it is a missed opportunity that Catrina isn't the ruler of Abyssinia. It would have been a nice nod to her. On the flip side, now that we know that Anthro cats indeed exist in MLP, there's nothing that would stop Catrina to show up as a villain. Maybe we see her in the future? It is also noteworthy that this is only the comic interpretation of Abyssinia. As of yet, it is unknown if we will get to see it in the movie, and even if it might look completely different. All we know so far is that one of its citizens, Kappa, will appear in the movie, and he actually gets a small appearance in this comic as well. But of course the main focus of this comic is on the Storm King himself. He is the main reason I actually bothered to get this comic, as I crave to see a new villain. After all, we haven't seen a new villain since Dalek's introduction, and he is much different than I expected. The first time I saw him, I couldn't help but to compare him with Tyrek. But he pretty much shatters this illusion as soon as the comic starts, with him breaking the fourth wall, claiming that he wants to tell his story himself. Throughout most of it he seems completely cheerful, always smiling. He actually reminds me a bit of Pinkie Pie of all people, especially when he considers to organize a pizza party or a funny hat day for his soldiers. Not only is it funny, it puts him in contrast to Chrysalis. While he makes it clear later on that he doesn't really care about his subordinates, it shows that he at least cares for their morale and appreciates good work. Or maybe he simply likes to party. But while it might seem a bit weird to see a goofy villain like this, it actually managed to make him look even more sinister when he is dealing with the King of Abyssinia. It highlights that he is in control and that it's just a normal day for him. His attitude seems rather mocking. While he is acting all friendly, it makes him look cruel. It is only after the conquest that he drops his cheerful facade, when he explains to his second in command how friendship is a weakness. Now I don't exactly have a problem that he thinks this. The show is called Friendship is Magic after all, so it's pretty much expected that MLP villains don't care about friendship. The problem is that this scene feels completely forced. There's no reason for his rant other than setting up a dramatic irony when he is betrayed by his trusted commander. It would have worked better if he would use his speech to mock the defeated Abyssinians. Now another thing that is quite interesting is that he isn't exactly interested in ruling the countries he is conquering and only claims their treasures. At first it seems like he's only interested in the thrill of conquest, but later we learn that his end goal is ultimate control. He wants enough magic to conquer the entire world. Now at first this seems like a contradiction. He claims that monarchy isn't really his thing and how much work it is to govern one conquered country. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Simply put, if he were to sit down to govern a giant empire, it would slow him down. Maybe even prevent him from achieving his goal of complete control. He would be forced to make sure that the conquered nations stay in his control, and that's way harder than it might sound. If you want a good example why that would be a problem, take a look at Game of Thrones. One of the plot threads dealt with Daenerys conquering Slaver's Bay. As soon as she left one city to conquer the next, the Slavers came back and undid everything she has done. Now Daenerys had everything she needs to invade Westeros and could leave Slaver's Bay behind and focus on her true goal. But idealistic as she is, she wants to stabilize the region. Daenerys resolves this conflict in the end by unleashing her 3 dragons to crush her enemies within minutes. The Storm King would be in a similar situation to Daenerys if he wanted to rule his conquered nations, with the difference that he doesn't have any dragons to fall back on. Keeping his troops in check is quite easy in comparison. He knows how to handle his army and simply plunders one country after the other until he finds a magical item that makes him powerful enough to conquer the whole world and keep it under control. This is also something that makes him rather interesting. The Storm King seems to be no magical threat on his own. He might be strong, we see him forming gold with his bare hands after all, but he doesn't seem to be capable to cast magic, which is why he is looking for magical items. Of course, maybe he just doesn't get to show off magic in this comic, as he didn't really need to until the end. The Iron might have helped him, but if he is indeed able to cast magic, he maybe didn't do it there because he lost his composure due to the betrayal, or that he might have damaged his own ship in the process. Anyway, he does loot one magical artifact from the Abyssinian vault, the so-called Misfortune Malachite. Well, and as the name implies, it is of course cursed. While it holds incredible power, it brings ruin to those who make use of it. And I do wonder if this curse has anything to do with the betrayal of his second in command. Speaking of which, said commander is named Strife and he's seemingly a living thundercloud. And I'm just going to say it right now, I don't think that we will see him in the movie. I don't think that his design would work in animation, at least not in the style the movie is going for. I suppose as the prequel is meant to introduce characters, he's meant to serve as an antagonist for this comic arc. His betrayal came with little surprise after the Storm King ranted how he doesn't see him as a friend, but Strife probably planned to betray him all along. So far we don't know anything about him or his motivations. Only that he allied himself with parrot pirates, which will probably lead to Captain Kalion's introduction in the second issue. Well, there might be a couple of other details that are worth a discussion, but I better wrap things up. The first comic issue of the My Little Pony prequel is pretty good. The Storm King is an intriguing and entertaining character. He managed to be intimidating and funny. He seems like the perfect villain for a My Little Pony movie. And this comic is full of small details that hype me up for it. I hope we get to see more of Abyssinia as well. But what about you? Did you read this comic? Did you like it? Anything that bothered you? Are you hyped for the movie? Let me know in the comments. I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
They are all complaining that I only provided cider and apple juice for the secret ribs. Where in the hay am I supposed to find 12 barrels of beer? I'm an alicorn, not an Al Capone, for Celestia's sake.
Do you have witchweed potion in stock?
Not the crazy cat lady again! I'll never be your pet!
We'll have to talk, Mr. Silvermane.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell